Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi Hanna, and I am so excited to be your conference chair for next year's AATH conference, which is the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor. It's going to be happening April 12th through the 15th here in sunny San Diego. You are not going to want to miss this for so many reasons that I'll be telling you more about over the next few months as we get ready for the conference. In this first promo video, I wanted to start, I'm actually giving myself goosebumps right now as I'm talking. I want to start by telling you one of our keynotes and introducing him to you. He's one of my very dear friends. I am so delighted that he agreed to spend time with us next year at our conference. And he is the author, Dr. Srini Pillay, of this book. This is actually the preview copy, and you can see all those. Now, let me just show you something. I didn't even get halfway through this book, and look at all those flags. I've got note cards. I've got highlights to go back through this book. This is an amazing book. Tinker, Dabble, Doodle, Try, Unlock the Power of the Unfocused Mind. And first of all, let me tell you that Srini is funny and just awesome to spend time with and have really crazy conversations with. Second, when I was reading this book, it really made me think about humor and curiosity, two of the things I love to help people understand that we can actually train as skill sets to improve our mind and our brain and our health and optimize our performance. So I invited Srini to come up with a conversation we could have next year at the conference around the ideas of tinkering and how it relates to humor. So as a preview, I've invited Srini to be here with me to share just a few insights as to that connection between humor and tinkering. So Srini, thank you so much for hanging out with me today for a few minutes and sharing your wisdom with our community.
I think you know how fantastic it is for me, Heidi, to be with you and with the community as well. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with people ideas that I have about the brain, but most importantly, ideas that can stimulate their own ingenuity and their own sense of humor. Because I just think sense of humor is so important to health in general. Yes. And I think life is so weird at so many levels that if we don't have humor, either as a defense or as some way of interacting with life becomes really difficult. So, you know, to the extent that we can begin to understand how to unearth that humor and what humor truly is, I would love to be in a conversation with you and everyone about this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. See, this is why you have to come to the conference, people. So we only have a few minutes to kind of dive into this. So I thought what would be interesting is to kind of look at this concept of tinkering, which a lot of people don't really get what that is. Maybe first just describe to us what tinkering is and how being unfocused is actually really productive, and then how tinkering and humor actually play a role together. And I'll remind you as well to everybody that the theme of our conference is resilience. So not that we need to get into all the details, but that's kind of eventually where we're going, is how does tinkering and humor help us to be more resilient in this crazy, chaotic world we live in?
Yeah, so I think tinkering at its most basic level is essentially sort of basing a phenomenon and then playing around with it. And I think for us in life, when we try to find any solution, like how do I become happier? How do I become wealthier? How does my relationship become stronger? Any of those questions, it's very hard to land on some ultimate truth initially. But that's what paralyzes us. And so tinkering is about taking the first step and recognizing that you can play around with whatever the result is until you find the next best version and then move on to the next step. And what I want to encourage people to do is not feel like they have to somehow perfectly land on the solution to all of the questions they have, but land somewhere and then play around with it. So I think that's what tinkering is. I think in terms of tinkering and its role in humor, you know, I think tinkering is really about playing around with something and then being curious enough to play around with it and then somehow be surprised. But what's funny about humor is that humor is not really about something that is completely outrageous. It's often about something that is true about life. Like I think about the general sitcoms, right? You think about Seinfeld or the Golden Girls or Friends, right? Why do we laugh at the things they say? It's not because they're all crazy. Like Phoebe can be a little bit crazy in Friends because she's so out there.
Yeah.
But at some level, the fact that she gives pause to such absurd things makes you sort of realize that even though she's saying something ridiculous, there's some kernel of truth to it.
Yeah.
And with Seinfeld, I mean, it's just everything there is sort of some major truth, you know, about like, well, why does that person brush his hair that way? Or why is she drink? Why is she slurping? What does that happen? Like everything that we do in some way is highlighted. And I think when we live very prescribed lives that are the opposite of tinkering, there's no opportunity for humor because there's no opportunity for emergent spontaneity. And there's no opportunity for meeting truth where it is and saying, oh God, it's so weird to be human. And I think what humor is about is recognizing fundamentally that no human brain is perfectly wired to be some perfect thing. And that one way we can respond to life's imperfections is to laugh at ourselves and laugh with the people that we feel close to so that we can unearth whatever this humor is and use that as a defense or some kind of vehicle to reach the next stage of life. So, you know, that in itself is not that funny. It's kind of a heavy duty thing to say about humor. But I think that I want to understand more intimately what stops people from both connecting with humor and expressing their own humor. And I think part of it is that humor is beautiful because it makes us all laugh. I mean, there's very little I like more than a belly laugh. Like the thought of like lying on the ground and having like some kind of mild ache in my stomach is it's a cool thing to look forward to. And I think the people I'm closest to, almost always, I have belly laughs with. But like you have belly laughs as a child and you sort of give that up as an adult. You know, it's like, ha ha ha, that's funny. Or like we get into this habit of saying things like with no expression on our faces. You know, oh wow, that's really funny. And you're like, really? You think that's funny? How come you're not laughing? Like if it's that funny. And so I think there's a disconnection between cognition and emotion. And I think humor is an opportunity to connect thinking with feeling and to recognize that there are things that are just not understandable or things we don't realize we do when we're caught up in the seriousness of life. So for me, the whole idea of therapeutic humor is really cool because it highlights the fact that to be human, you also have to be vulnerable. And I believe that human beings in general can really only get to their goals if they are a combination of their strengths and weaknesses. Like there's one model of goal setting, which is like, be only your strengths, which to me is like, go to your goal on one leg. But there's another model that is, have your strengths and your vulnerabilities, learn how to laugh at your vulnerabilities, combine them with your strengths, and then you'll be whole. And that wholeness, I think, is what creates the resilience that you're talking about. And I think that humor is a part of this resilience because it allows us to have a relationship with our vulnerabilities that is not judgmental, that acknowledges the fact that there's something really weird about this wiring. You know, I think that's one of the most profound findings I've had about the brain after studying it in a lab for 17 years, that we're wired kind of funny. Like, you know, I don't know what goes on in the world, but the way we love and the way we hate and the things that irritate us and the things we can do and the things we can't do. I mean, I don't know how anybody goes through life without laughing at themselves. So what I would love is for people to join this conversation, to say, you know what, you're right. Like, I think I've been taking myself seriously for a little too long. Or that's really funny because I do exactly that. You know, like when people talk about general paradigms, like, you know, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. It's like, you know, like women say things like the stereotype, right? Like I came home and I'm like, I don't know what to do about this thing. And the guy is like, well, this is what you should do. And she's like, I didn't ask you what I should do. I just said, I don't know what to do. I want you to hear that. And he's like, but to me, that means like, you want me to tell you what to do. She's like, no, I don't want you to tell me what to do. Can you just listen? And it's like, actually, I can't. I'm not wired to listen. I don't know how to listen. I just like to solve things. And she's like, well, you're not solving anything. So just to, you know, that's sort of a funny thing in life. Like, like, what are we supposed to do with that? We're just, if we're predisposed that way, we're predisposed that way. I think we should just recognize that. So the conversation, I think, can get super deep, but I think at the end of it, what I love about the theme of this conference is that there's a light side to humor and resilience, which is not taking yourself that seriously. And I think there's a much more profound side to human resilience, which is how do I incorporate the fact that I'm imperfect, that every single human being is imperfect, and how do I laugh at myself and not feel bad about it?
Yeah. Well, and we know when we laugh and even just find something funny without laughing, that it unlocks so much of the stress and tension in our brain and body that's keeping us from coming up with any solution. So it's just such a better, more enjoyable, more collaborative way for us to go through life together. And I'll tell you, since you haven't been to the conference, and anyone else who might be watching and is unfamiliar with our group, we have an amazing variety of researchers like yourself and people who've been doing practical work. But we also have a couple of headliner stand-up comedians who are going to be joining us. And we also have a couple of athletes who have gone through some really difficult times who are going to talk about how they use humor to cope with their disabilities in life. We have some military veterans who will be sharing personal stories. We also have the practical sessions where we'll actually teach you how to train your brain to find things funny, and some things like using improv for stress management, all sorts of different techniques. I have to be honest, putting the schedule together, I want to be in every single one of them. So we're going to try really hard this year to have them all recorded so that you can take those home with you. So I'm so excited, had no idea what we were going to be talking about. And everything you just mentioned is making me so jazzed about having you here in San Diego, part of this conversation, and definitely having a lot of fun and humor together. Hopefully some belly laughs too. So
I think so. I'm really looking forward to that. I think, it's funny, I was watching Wimbledon. I looked at Ostapenko, who's a rising star in women's tennis. And she's so different from the other players. She won the French Open. She went really far at Wimbledon. She lost. But she laughs at herself when she hits a funny shot. She just sort of like, everybody else is like, oh my God, I can't believe it. She does that and she goes, like, what was I doing again? Like,
yeah.
What? It's an amazing way to allow yourself to move forward. And I think it's a big deal that you're doing this and inviting people to humor at a time when so many people are not feeling like the world is funny.
Yeah.
So many people are feeling, whatever country they're in.
I was going to say, it's funnier than ever if you allow yourself to go there. And at the same time, we're always careful to make sure we're not minimizing people's pain or minimizing their experience and saying, just laugh at it. What we're saying is find the funny and find humorous experiences to share with other people to build your social support and to add more resilience so that you can problem solve, get through those difficult times, and actually have as my phone is dinging and driving me crazy. This is like resilience in action here, people. You can't plan this stuff. But what I was going to say is you actually end up with post-traumatic growth instead of post-traumatic stress, where you can actually use some of this stuff and benefit from it instead of letting it burn you out or break you down. So here's the deal, guys. First of all, I would suggest you get the book now because I'm sure you're like me and you don't want to wait. And so I'll put a link down in the comments below where you can order a book right away. I also will tell you that I have heard a rumor that we may be giving away copies for those of you who pre-register for the conference that you'll be able to pick up on site at the conference. So I will also post those notes below as well once we get confirmation of that. I really want to encourage you to sign up early. We're limited in capacity this year, and I have no doubt that we will sell out. So please go to AATH.org and sign up right away and come hang out with Srini and I in sunny California. We will be belly laughing. We'll be the ones, we'll be easy to find. We'll be the ones, what'd you say, rolling on the floor with a good belly laugh?
Yes.
Completely.
I'm looking forward.
You there. Thank you so much, Srini.
Thank you, Heidi. It's always lovely talking.